Rebels, welcome to the Rebels Edge. Whenever I'm on, I try to make sure it's an episode packed with UOA, and that's what we've got for you today. So stick around to see a live UOA pick for later tonight.
All right. We got my man, Justin Nugent, over there. Did the cold open already. I'll tell you what, some market movement has been absolutely incredible. The ability for the markets to move the way they have, especially lately, given some of the backdrop, it's been really, really interesting, right, Justin? I mean, it's kind of crazy and the volatility is kind of easing out and the whole thing. What do you think?
I think it's so cool how well we've been able to sustain with some of this data. If you look today, we're up, at least for right now, and anything can change with what we've learned from this market. Personally, I think we're going to stay up. But yeah, when you see some of these jobs numbers, you're starting to say, okay, this is quite a divergence between what we're seeing and then what's taking place.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just jump right into that. Let's go to the macro minute for a sec here. Labor markets. It's exactly what you were just talking about. I mean, they've eased back a little bit, maybe more than eased back when you look at it. But these numbers they put up 54,000 on the private payrolls, right? That's what we put up there. They were looking for 75,000. So there's a little bit of a disconnect there. There's some issues going on. And I'll tell you what, it's interesting to see as we've gotten more and more of the labor market numbers. I don't know what you think, but they seem like they're kind of getting a little bit less impressive than expected. Wouldn't you say?
I would completely agree with that. And, we're just going to really have to see tomorrow what happens. And hopefully if it's anything worse, it just continues to shock the Fed into taking action. My macro minute is actually about AAII sentiment. I don't know if anyone out there likes to look at this, but it has actually been consecutively bearish for the past 5 weeks. Individual investors are more bearish than bullish. And that is really, really interesting given where we are in the stock market. And it probably bodes well, in my view, rather than poorly.
Yeah. Well, as far as fantastic futures, we always talk about the volatility index. I do. I concentrate on that. I look at that and the 10-year are the two most important for me every single morning. That's where I start. Now, there's a lot of different other numbers that we can be looking at, but those are where I start. And I look at that volatility index. Boy, it's been dipping and dipping. Yes, we get a pop here and there, just out of nowhere. We get a pretty nice pop, but it's not sustainable. It seems like it pulls right back again. But here we are today, around 16, down about 3%. Interesting to see how that's really started to become what the market is. It almost feels like there's pressure to move it down even lower. And do we get back down towards 14? It's possible. Could we get a spike up maybe past that 18 level? Sure. But the sustainability of those spikes is just not there right now. And that's why I think we're sitting basically right around 16. It's near the absolute lows after some of those big spikes that we've had over the last 6 months or so, especially back in April.
Yeah, that was really, really well said. I wonder, and don't know for sure because I'm not looking at all the VIX contracts and stuff like that right now, but I have to wonder if it has anything to do with a lot of the VIX hedging that's kind of coming off that probably people put on over the past few months and got really bearish. And now, it's a little tough to have these way out VIX predictions with the market at all-time highs and everything like that. So I wonder if some of that de-hedging is part of what's taking place. But I don't know. That's something that maybe we can look into. For my fantastic future, I've got two quick ones. Lumber, saying timber, is dropping like crazy over the month of August from 700 to something like 570. And also just the ES, the SPY in general. We talked about this in the roundup. We fell to 635.50. That's what we said. The daily buyers came in to break that hourly, moved us up to 644. And I said last night, if we can hold above 644, I'd probably be taking like 5-day to expiration calls here at the money. And I know that's a scary thing to do ahead of the labor report, but let's just remember how resilient we've been ahead of and through so many of these other labor reports. That is probably what we'll be talking about in the Rebel Roundup tonight. Rebels, Real in-person tickets to the 10X Rebel Bootcamp are unfortunately sold out, but that doesn't mean that you have to miss it, and you really, really shouldn't, because it's going to be incredible. It's going to be very interactive, even from home, and I can't explain why yet, but if you get these virtual tickets, you're going to find out why. I'm going to be there. Pete's going to be there. John's going to be there. We're all going to be talking about all kinds of trading activity, including on the 19th. That's a live market day. We're going to be talking about live UOA. You're going to get technical insights from all of our other great analysts. And we're going to hear so much more. If you scan that QR code, not only will you be able to get the tickets, you'll be able to see more about what's going on that day and why it's going to be such an educational and tradable experience, even from home. Would highly recommend.
Let's just jump into these stocks now. We've got some really fun ones today, man. We got a lot of UOA that we were just talking about as well. This is one of those. I'm looking at American Eagle Outfitters, right? It's only up 30+% today. I mean, it's an absolute ripping move to the upside. We've had unusual option activity. Take a look at the chart. I mean, it's extraordinary. And why is that? Why is it going up the way it? Well, just take a look at two celebrities that are out there that are pitching themselves there. Travis Kelce, the football player, the tight end with Kansas City Chiefs. Everybody knows him because of the Patrick Mahomes connection and everything. But how about Sydney Sweeney? People are just absolutely enamored, and they find her to be obviously attractive. But how attractive is she? Well, they had record-breaking new customer acquisitions coming into AEO. I think that speaks for itself. It's amazing. The brand awareness now that they've got, they beat all the expectations. They beat on the revenue by about 4%. They had gross profits. That was strong. They also had earnings growth of 15% year over year. There really isn't anything that you'd look at right now and say, hey, look, even if some of this stuff was maybe construed to be a little negative, maybe here or there, we're not seeing it because the stock's up 30% today.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And, construed to be a little negative, a certain four-letter network certainly thought so. From American Eagle to Swatch, why brands seem to just keep getting it so wrong. Meanwhile, American Eagle said this is their best partnership that they've ever done. I think the Sydney Sweeney connection is huge because she's not just a face. I mean, she has like a pretty interesting presence in car restoration TikToks, like rebuilds old cars. She has a bunch of videos of her nailing targets with a gun, and she is now known as a registered Republican. So obviously she is kind of tapping into a very, very unexpected base, I think. And that's part of probably people's fascination with her on top of everything else. I'll just note that we had my favorite type of UOA in this. I talked about it on Thursday. My favorite type of UOA is earnings UOA that we see that day right before earnings. You can see right at the bottom, they're coming in, and they weren't even just coming in for this week. They were coming in for next year, way out of the money at the 15 strike, the 23 strike, the 19 strike. And here's the thing about some of these far out in time calls. You do not have to get there. If you make a very swift move, like, 30+% in a day, those are going to be up. Those are not getting IV crushed to the level that you might think they are. And if you're wondering how they're doing, I would go take a look at how those options are trading. They are doing quite nicely.
Yeah, pretty amazing. Well, the next one up is C3 AI. And by the way, they have unusual option activity. I'll let you hit that when the time comes. But this one went in the other direction. It started off anyway, getting hit by about 14% or something like that. Why is that? Well, when you look at the numbers they put up, it actually makes a lot of sense. But the revenue down about 19% year over year, the earnings missed as well. Those aren't things that are going to be very attractive for people who are keeping a close eye on these. Also, the guidance. If you've got a miss on earnings, basically a miss or a significant drop on your revenue, those are both a problem. But a real problem is the guidance, and that was the next problem that they've had. So even though this is part of the world of AI and everything else that comes along with it, and you were talking about some of the different names that this company's had over the years, I would say they disappointed just about every aspect of their report. How about you?
Yeah, I hate to be a hater of any stock because I'm pretty bullish on most things, but I'm a C3 AI hater, actually. Real quick, just about I'll mention the UOA first. really important when you trade anything like this that's for an earnings catalyst. I always tell people, hey, once the catalyst is over, you just get out. If you were wrong and you missed, and they were wrong and they missed, then you get out because the trade's over. If you were right, take your money. This thing opened right around 14.95, stayed there for all of, I don't know, like 5 seconds, and is now starting to move back to the center line. Now it's still down about 3.75%, but it was down a hell of a lot more beforehand. So when you see those big profits in something like this, just take it, snatch it up, go to the next one. There's plenty. There's always another trade around the corner. Now, real quick, why I don't like C3 AI. Originally, this was the C stood for carbon. It had nothing to do with AI. They were trying to manage corporate carbon footprints back when that was cool in 2009. In 2016, they became C3 IoT, which was, the hot buzz phrase of the time, the Internet of Things. And then they became C3 AI. It feels like a band that changes their genre whenever their other genre wasn't popular anymore. I'm just not a fan of them.
I'm with you. I hear you, and I understand what you're saying. It is amazing, though, that it's kind of come off of those lows. That part is a bit surprising because there was nothing that you could reach to and say, well, but they did this. No, there was no, well, they did this. There was none of that. So I'm surprised that it didn't stay down about 14% like it was. But then all of a sudden, as like you were talking about, it's made a bit of a recovery. All right, UiPath, that's the next one we're going to go after. And I think this one's very, very interesting because I'm fascinated by the whole world of robotics. I feel like that's one of those areas that we talk about once in a while that is probably going to get a lot more talked about into the future. And I think NVIDIA is one of the leadership of that whole thing as well. But this is another one with unusual option activity again. But as will be pointed out by my man, Justin, their numbers don't come out till tonight. So that's going to be the interesting part. It's right after the close. They're expecting the revenue to be up like close to 10%. They've only missed on revenue one time in the last 2 years. So this will be very, very interesting to see. Now, like I said, it's closer to the 52-week lows, however. So is there an opportunity for this thing to maybe make a pretty good leap? Yeah, there's a possibility. We'll have to see if it actually can play out. But you can see there by the chart, this thing is a lot closer to the 52-week lows than it is even sniffing distance from the 52-week highs.
Yeah, I completely agree. This is a stock that was trading around 80, I believe, back in 2021 and has just gotten nailed ever since the bear market and just stayed down. We've seen a lot of other stocks that are in that kind of bucket really start to make that recovery back higher. Unity started to make its little recovery. SoFi and Hood and Palantir all probably fall into that same bucket. Path really hasn't, but the reason I like it is not just because robotics are really cool, which they are and probably are the future. And, Pete was just noting before this thing started that was part of the takeaway that he got from NVIDIA. The robotics is huge and here to stay. I believe in it like crazy. But what I like about this is that what are they doing? On September 2nd, they're coming in, they're buying September 12th expiring, so right after earnings, 11 strike calls. On September 3rd, what are they doing? They're coming back in again, and they're buying 5,000 more of those September 19th, 11:50 strike calls, just to keep saying, hey, we like it. Hey, by the way, in case you forgot, it's been 24 hours. We still like it. Who knows if we'll see more today? This is for brave souls, all right? I would not bet the house on this, but if you do want a live active UOA trade that I personally will also be trading, then Path might be your go.
Yep, you're convincing me more and more. All right, next up we got Credo Tech. Now this one, they beat on the revenue, not so bad. They beat by 31%, by the way. They had incredible demand going on. They're growing that demand for the efficiency of the connectivity and blah, 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 blah. But this is something where the hyperscalers, that's a big part of this whole thing. Some of the key customers that they've got, it looks like the demand level is so high that this one, it's only up 15% today. Oh, and by the way, a 52-week high, 141. Here's the 52 weeks, and there it is, perfect to look at. It's 24 on the 52-week low and 141, which was hit today on the 52-week high. So this one shows you that when the demand is there and you're executing right, which they've been, this is a stock that's doing incredibly well. And I just wish this one thing, I wish we'd see a little bit more unusual option activity in this name, because certainly is an absolute ripping move to the upside. I mean, that's bottom left to upper right. That's classic.
Yeah, and I mean, man, they always come out of nowhere, don't they? This is one of those ones that I admittedly did not know a ton about. It's not one that I was watching, but looking back, yeah, wish I was, because that thing has just really been moving up and to the right, man. I mean, this is apparently an AI name now, and it's one that we're gonna have to put on our radar. And I say now, I think they've been an AI name the whole time. I just didn't know. So
Right.
I
Right.
like the story and I like the action.
There's a lot of names out there though that cling themselves to whatever the hot thing is, like you were talking about earlier. So it's always interesting. All right, we're going to jump to a little bit of sports. We always have fun, and Justin always is fun to talk with sports about this whole thing. So here's what I've got for you. You're a young guy, a lot younger than I am. So I want you to know this, and for people out there that aren't really paying as much attention to this, I think they really should. I think this is the greatest era ever for quarterbacks in the NFL. And what if I just show you this way? So the old guys, who are the old guys? Aaron Rodgers, definitely one of them. Geno Smith, Matthew Stafford. They're all old guys. They still can play. And I think all three of them potentially could be those kind of quarterbacks that could lead their teams to Super Bowl. Maybe over this year or maybe next year. But the clock is ticking for those guys. But then I start looking at the other guys that are a little bit more in the medium age level. So Lamar Jackson, pretty unbelievable player. Patrick Mahomes, pretty damn good. Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Baker Mayfield. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing. But then you've got the young guns too. So you've got Jaden Daniels, Brock Purdy, Caleb Williams, J.J. McCarthy with the Vikings, who's not played a down yet. But I can tell you this, I've been to practices. I've seen what this kid can do. And he's a winner. He was a winner in high school. He was a national champion winner at Michigan. And then he tore his leg last year, so he wasn't able to play with the Vikings. But he looks pretty damn good, has an unbelievable arm. You've got names like Bo Nix. Everywhere you look in the NFL right now, it kind of is a spot where I've never seen it like this ever before. And it kind of makes it pretty cool, Justin. So you got to appreciate these quarterbacks because this won't last long. It's like every trend that happens, right? They're the greatest running backs, the greatest receivers. Well, right now, these quarterbacks are absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I've heard people talk about this being like a pass-heavy meta. I don't know if that's something that you would corroborate, but with all the rules favoring passing, pass interference calls, roughing the passer penalties, and all that type of stuff, maybe that's why we're seeing some of these stats. But you know me, I'm a stats guy. So when I saw that you wanted to talk about this, I was like, all right, let's really look into it. So here's your average passing yards per game back in the 1980s. It was around 190. Back in the 2000s, it was around 200. Right now, it's about 230, which, I mean, really just speaks for itself. Yeah, you're right. Quarterbacks are dominating the NFL.
Well, they protect them, which is good and bad. I mean, it's great because, obviously they can play longer and they're talented people and they protect them. They don't want them getting hurt because the problem is there's great first stringers. As soon as you get past the first string, then all of a sudden the wheels start to come off a little bit. So, and the money that these guys are getting is unbelievable. By the way, we have a game tonight, which kicks off the NFL season, and it's going to be Dallas and Philly. Do you have any opinion on that one? I'll be on News Nation later on today talking with Connell McShane. He's the greatest. And he said to me, he goes, hey, let's talk a little football. And I said, all right. He goes, who do you like tonight? And so I didn't tell him yet, but I'll tell you. I like the Philadelphia Eagles here. I think Dallas has got a lot of things going on. They had everything going on with Micah Parsons and all this talk about this, that, and the other, and distractions and that kind of thing. I still like the Cowboys. I'm not negative on them, but Philadelphia, for everything I've seen, doesn't look like they've gotten worse. If anything, they maybe even have gotten to be a better team after last year's Super Bowl and all. So I think Philadelphia's got them. Do you got an opinion on that one?
No, I don't have a huge opinion on this one, but I'll yield my time on that one. I don't know.
That's okay. By the way, college football, just real quick, we finally got another great week. Last week was unbelievable because so many ranked teams were actually playing somebody rather than playing somebody who's extremely low down they have to pay them to come and actually play the game and all the rest of it. They pay $500,000 to somebody to come in there and they kick the crap out of them. Last week, it wasn't like that. And this week, I really like the fact that you've got two quarterbacks that everybody's talking about. We've got Michigan, And Michigan's got a young quarterback. John and I talked about him yesterday. The guy's getting paid something like $14 million. I mean, this is a freshman. He was the number one player in high school last year and came out, and then he had offers from a lot of different teams. Anyway, he's going to be the quarterback tonight and for the Michigan Wolverines. And then, of course, you've got another guy at Oklahoma, and Oklahoma's got a great defense, and they grabbed the quarterback coach as well as the quarterback from Washington State who came down to Oklahoma. And so I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch this game. And it's two ranked teams again. It's not somebody who's going to beat somebody by 50 points. This should be a pretty good ball game. Are you interested at all for college football, man? I know. Oh, you are. Oh, good. Will you be watching?
I watch from time to time, and I am going to watch this, especially because we're talking about it here. Yeah, I like the matchup between Bryce Underwood and John Mateer. I do think it's got to be really, really tough. You know, this is a hostile environment to come in on when you've got so many eyes on you and so much kind of praise put on you to come in against Mateer. He just torched Illinois State for 392 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think it's going to be very, very fun to watch.
Well, and it's at Oklahoma, which I can tell you this, Michigan's a great place to play football. I was lucky enough to play there. I played at Ohio State, played at Wisconsin, which is unbelievable atmosphere, Nebraska, you name it. But Oklahoma, we played Oklahoma up at Minnesota my senior year and almost won. We lost the game, unfortunately. But I'll tell you, the next year, the guys went down to Oklahoma to play, and I've been to the stadium. I've been to games. That's one of the better, probably not talked about enough, great atmospheres for college football. And, you know, they had coaches there for many years who they would if they can, they're going to run the score up, and you know what? They're that good, and they never apologized for it. And they shouldn't. They played the game the way it's supposed to. You're always supposed to go 100% so you don't get hurt. Well, they went 100%, and they used to kick the tar out of a lot of teams that came in there. Well, Justin, great. I really appreciate you having the time to get over here. It's awesome, and you always have a different perspective. I always appreciate that as well. So fantastic stuff. And John and I will be back on Monday for 1 p.m. The Rebels Edge.